I'm very, very excited today to have a guest on that's just recently finished a 24-hour Bike Erg event.
Yeah.
He is a professional photographer based in Sydney, one of the best fitness photographers in the city, I believe.
Thanks, mate.
Working for brands like Lululemon, and I believe you're also a Lululemon ambassador.
Still, yeah.
Very
Can't
good.
get rid of me.
You can find him on Instagram under Marceau Photography.
Yeah, got that one right.
Lyndon Marceau.
Yeah.
Welcome on the show.
Thank you. Thanks, Kim. Thanks for having me.
No worries. Did I pronounce your last name right?
I was waiting for you to see if you stuffed it up, but no, you got it wrong.
Is it a bit French?
French-Canadian.
French-Canadian.
Yeah.
Are you from Canada or?
No, Australian born. It's ancestry, like 5th, 6th generation down.
Oh, okay. So
on my dad's side.
Pretty much 100% Aussie.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I've been back to see my family, my roots, but my great, whatever it is, grandma, I went to see her when she was 103.
Oh, wow.
That would have been in 2009.
You got some good genes.
Yeah. So
Good genetics.
it's nice over there.
Do you speak French?
Oh, look, it's real rusty. Don't
Okay.
even try to get me to speak French.
But the French Canadians they're pretty passionate about the French language, right?
Yeah, but if you ask French people about French Canadians, it's like the dirty French.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like the Swiss Germans and Germans. You know, Germans is kind of dirty, but then you add in Swiss German and it's even dirtier as a language.
Well, Lyndon, my first question is going to be, are you sore today?
Surprisingly not. Yeah, even on Monday morning when I woke up, I thought I was going to be in all sorts of agony, just how I felt throughout the Saturday night, Sunday morning, just willing your legs to move. When I was riding, I was thinking Monday morning is just going to be horrible. And I had a shoot on Monday night, big shoot Tuesday, even bigger shoot Wednesday. I wasn't even sure how I was going to get through them. But woke up Monday morning, you know how when you wake up from a big night and you kind of open your eyes and then you're like, am I actually going to be able to get out of bed? Yeah, and I jumped up and walked to the bathroom and washed my face and had a drink. And I was like, this is so surreal.
Wow,
I
really?
can't even feel like I felt like I'd just done a bit of a leg day. But it
That's
was
unbelievable.
pretty much 12 hours of a leg day for me.
Yeah, that is surprising. Okay, so let's go through how the event worked, because you just said you did 12 hours out of 24 roughly, so you had a partner.
Yeah. So we had five teams who were continuously riding for 24 hours in pairs or trios. So in my team, I was with my friend Hannah, and we were hour on, hour off all night until about midnight. We were planning on doing a 2-hour stint each, but at that point in time, our legs were just too sore and I couldn't face sitting on the bike for 2 hours. So we just decided to continue with the hours and try and sleep for whatever period we could, which I think was probably not a good decision to have it lie down sleep. My legs just started to seize up and my body was shutting down. So I probably would have preferred in hindsight just to keep moving.
And how long did you sleep when you had those sleeps?
10 minutes.
Yeah, well, so you slept for 10 minutes and getting up was just legs.
First round of sleeping, I was like, oh, that's a little bit sore. See how the next sleep is. Next sleep I got up and I was in agony. Like my body was, all cramping up almost, that cramping feeling. And I just kept doing hot laps of the gym just to try and move my legs before my next session was on in like 20 minutes.
Hot laps, what do you mean?
I was just doing walks around the gym.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, to try and move the legs.
So what time of day did you guys start?
We started 8 a.m. Last Saturday, the 26th, and we rode till 8 a.m. on the Sunday morning.
Wow.
Yeah.
And on your team, it was just you and Hannah?
Just me and Hannah.
Yeah. And the goal was just to keep the bike going?
Even the changeovers were super quick. So we had a countdown clock up in the far left corner, far enough away that it wasn't in your face. But you could see how long we had to go. And every hour, you know that your partner was going to be ready for you. So you just kind of looking at that clock. And the last 10 minutes of every hour seemed to be really painful.
Slow?
Yeah, just like time went backwards, I feel like. And I'm just looking at Hannah being like, you better be ready to get on this bike because all I can think about is getting off. For the first 5 hours, it was fine. But after that, it was just like, and a couple points throughout the night when Hannah was lying on the ground, just resting in between, she wasn't awake and it was like 2 minutes to go. And I was like, I'm going to peg something at you because you've got to get up and get your shoes on because I don't want to sit on this bike, 30 seconds longer than I have to.
Yeah. Did you have a goal for accumulated kilometers on the bike, or?
Didn't have a goal, but I knew that we'd be pushing the 600K mark. We did 620 between us over the 24 hours, which is kind of roughly what I thought, because I've done a 10-hour straight ride before and I did 300Ks in 10 hours. And I kind of thought with fatigue and slowing down throughout the night that we'd maybe get 600 between us.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm pretty happy we got 620. I thought that was a pretty good effort.
That's mad.
The team above us, the team next to us, Jenna and her team, they did 625. We were going really strong in the beginning. We were almost 15 Ks ahead, and then probably like 8 o'clock when Jenna's second teammate, she had to go. So then they got a fresh teammate in. She got fresh legs, and she was sitting next to us spinning at like 205, 210, 210, sorry. And I was just trying to hold on to like 220s, whereas before I was sitting at 158s and 2 minutes per 1,000 kilometers, that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then just slowly just reeled us in. Not that it was a race, but I was like, okay, it gives me something to kind of pace on. Yeah, so we all, like the top 3 teams, when I say top 3, the top 3 who rode the furthest was, 625, 622, and then, 620 we did.
So Jenna was on the winning team.
Yeah, she would have loved that. Yeah.
Terminator. But you said she did the whole 24 hours herself though, but she had 2 different partners.
Yeah. Alexa had to fly out to New Zealand, or to Melbourne, sorry.
Oh my.
So she flew out at 9 o'clock. So she left us at like 5 o'clock.
So she just did a 12-hour stint and then had to fly out?
She did from 8 till 4, I think it was.
Okay.
And then raced to the airport, got on a plane.
Wow.
I mean, her DOMs must have been worse than the rest of us. I don't know. Getting on a plane after riding for 6 hours or 8 hours.
Yeah, that sounds awful.
Even just to Melbourne. That's a short flight, but still. So Jenna's team, they smashed it. I mean, Jenna was in all sorts of pain. Like, I don't know if she's experienced that kind of pain before. Just sitting on the bike. If you're not used to sitting on a bike, like, it's going to hurt.
Well, she's done some crazy workouts. I've seen her train, but yeah,
her mental game
maybe the
was
longest.
Yeah, her mental game was probably pulling her through. For some of the other girls who, had done a fair bit of training, I could really empathise with them, how painful it was. And I think it's more painful for girls. There's a lot of pressure down there than compared to guys. I don't know.
We've got a lot of
we've got a lot of jump down there too, but I don't know, it's a different kind of pressure.
Yeah.
They were hurting more than the boys were hurting.
Oh, really?
I think just from sitting down.
You need a thick butt.
Yeah, actually, everyone was like, you want a bit of padding? And I was like, actually, I just want a metal seat. That'd be way better.
Oh, really?
Yeah, less padding, the better.
How come?
There's just not enough, too much give in the padding, I feel like.
So moves too much?
Yeah, and you got padded. I had padded bike nicks. I had like 6 pairs.
You changed 6 times?
I actually changed every time I got off the bike. It was a little strategy of mine I had 13 changes of clothing.
Wow.
So every time I got off the bike, I took my shirt off, went upstairs, washed my face, changed my shorts, put on either bike nicks or another pair of shorts. And I alternated between shorts and bike nicks for every hour because I only brought 6 pairs with me. But yeah, just that comfortable feeling of feeling a bit refreshed. I had a shower, I had maybe 4 or 5 showers, just real quick. And it just revitalizes you a little bit to keep going.
I guess it gives you something to do as well when you're not on the bike.
Yeah, I mean, that hour that you're off the bike goes pretty quick.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's not as if you're sitting around.
I thought I'd be, okay. Yeah, that's different to what I imagined it would be like. I obviously didn't do it, but I thought maybe that hour would be really boring.
I think for the people, there was a team of 3 and they were doing 45-minute stints. So they were off the bike for an hour and a half and they found it really boring because that hour goes quick and then the next hour, half an hour just kind of drags on. But by the time I got off the bike, had a drink, washed my face, changed my clothes, tried to eat something, got my drinks ready, put them back in the freezer, potentially did a little stretch, walk around. It was only another 5 or 10 minutes before you're back on.
Wow. And then you're like, don't want to go back on? Yeah.
The first 12 hours were fine, but then after that, you're just so sore that you get on and you're just looking at your legs going, you need to move. You just need to will them to move. And the first 10 minutes is painful. And then half an hour in, you're okay. And then the last half an hour, the last 20 minutes is okay. Then that last 10 minutes was pretty horrendous.
What are you doing when you're on your hour on the bike? Do you listen to podcasts or music or chat to people or?
Pardon me, I kind of mixed it up. either listened to music and just zoned out, or we had a TV screen in front of us. We put some movies on, we put some CrossFit games on, we put some TV series on. During the start from the 8 o'clock in the morning, there was a workout, so we kind of distracted us a little bit from.
The classes were on at the Cube.
Yeah, so we started at 8 to coincide with the class starting to kind of get a bit more energy from them. So that 8 o'clock class, I think that's why I probably went so hard on my first ride, because I felt the energy from everyone else working out.
Yeah.
And then throughout the night, when you got other people come in, they kind of brought a bit more energy as well.
What kind of give us some examples of music and movies that you had on?
The movies. One request was the TV or the movie series, The In-Betweeners, because Zoe was.
That's funny.
She's from the UK, so she wanted to watch that. Pretty sure we watched some of the CrossFit games. There was another movie in there, the Christmas Party, I think.
No idea. A Christmas movie already.
Yeah.
I guess it is 1st of November.
I can't even, it's all a bit of a blur, some of it throughout those wee hours, the late night into the wee hours.
Did you have any music, any songs that pumped you up when you were feeling a bit down during those 24 hours?
I have a playlist that I work out to. It's all more like house kind of trance. Just
Beats
to keep
and stuff.
Just beats, yeah. It's just not even no words, just music.
Yeah.
And you get into a rhythm, and 5 minutes goes by, and you've just listened to one song, and it's kind of pumped you up a bit. Yeah,
you need that sometimes, I guess, in something like that.
Just something to keep you going. And the times I did have my earbuds in, that was much easier to cope with that hour ride, rather than sometimes just no earbuds and chatting to the person next to you. Or at one point of the night, about 8 o'clock, maybe 9 o'clock, it was pretty grim, and one of the Cube members came in, and I was like, Jimmy, just stand and talk to me. Like, don't ask me how I'm feeling. Just don't ask me anything else about the ride. Just tell me what you did today. Like, that's all I want to hear.
Yeah.
And that last half an hour of that ride went really quick.
Yeah.
Just needed something to distract myself.
That's awesome. Yeah, I guess it can be annoying if people come in and they're asking you the same question again and again.
How you
How's
feeling?
your legs?
I don't know. You try to ride 200 kilometers and see how your legs feel.
You've been on the seat for 12 hours.
Yeah. We had apart from the 5 bikes where we had 24-hour riders, I had another 3 bikes. One was a spare that I didn't anticipate using, but there were 2 other bikes where Cube members and family and friends could book an hour, donate $20 kind of jump on the bike with us, which was nice to have those people kind of rotate through. So one of those bikes was pretty much full the whole time for the 24 hours.
Oh, wow.
And then the second bike was pretty much full for half the rest of the time. Obviously, throughout the early hours of the night was probably the less interested time for people to be riding with us. But a couple of those people got on and they're like, oh, this is really fun. This is not too bad, is it? And we're all like, shut up. You're only half an hour in. We're about 5.5 hours in.
Yeah, wow. Talk to me about how many calories did you burn? How did you track it? And what kind of food or nutrition did you try and get in during that 24-hour stint?
Yeah, so at the Cube, we have the MyZones. So it's a heart rate strap, which monitors your heart rate and your calories burnt pretty closely. So I endeavored to, and I did not take that off for 24 hours so I could, comfortably track my calories. So I burnt 13,500 calories in the 24 hours.
Wow.
So obviously when I was riding, that was higher, and then I didn't take it off when I was in between rest, but you could clearly see, my rest and my ride patterns. For the first 12 hours, I just tried to keep hydrated. And I think because it was a really hot day on the Saturday, it was about 32 degrees outside.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and there was not much air in there. So the first 6 rounds for me, and I'm a high sweater, but I sweated a lot, and I probably didn't take in as much electrolytes as I needed to. I was just bottle of water, bottle of electrolytes on the bike, and I smashed both those. But then, pardon me, towards that 8 o'clock mark at about 12 hours, that just wasn't really fueling me for all the loss that I'd already made. Yeah. So one of the trainer's partners came in, and she was like, "You just need to smash electrolytes, like hands down." And it was actually, funnily enough, it was the true endurance that I had.
Okay.
Throughout the night. So I just got rid of the water, and I just did double true endurance and salt tablets. One of my mates brought in some bone broth, so I smashed that.
Oh, wow.
And that just picked me right back up and got me back on it.
Mm.
Yeah.
So no solids?
I did have solids, but at that time, like, it's really hard to eat solid food.
Your appetite's not.
Yeah, you just
Great.
try and nibble. Like, I was nibbling on rice cakes, corn thins. I had, like, obviously lollies here and there.
Snakes?
Snakes, anything really. What else did I have? Chocolate-coated coffee beans, potato chips, salted potato chips. I had a peanut butter and honey sandwiches.
Oh, wow.
Super salty potatoes, like boiled potatoes. And I managed to get one whole meal down in 2 sittings. So chicken, rice, and veggies with potatoes. It was super bland and boring, but I just needed a bit more substance in me, a bit more carby. And
what time of day did you eat those meals?
I had my lunch, half of that chicken and rice potatoes about 2 o'clock. And then I finished the last of that at about 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
And from then on in, I couldn't really stomach much more.
It's like lunch and dinner.
Pretty much. I tried to have like a lunch and a late dinner.
Yeah.
And then I didn't even have one gel. I had gels with me, but it didn't cross my mind to have a gel. I just didn't feel like that would sit well with me.
Just in your stomach, you mean?
Yeah. I mean, I've ridden on gels before. My last rider, it was gels every 45 minutes, but because I wasn't moving as such out of the saddle as much in this ride, I just felt like I had time off, so I should be able to have enough solids.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's pretty much all I ate. I thought I should have eaten more, but yeah, like I said, you just can't stomach it.
Do you know if you lost, how much weight you lost? I assume you did lose.
I think I lost about 4 or 5 kilos.
Wow. In 24 hours.
Yeah. I mean, I put some back on already, obviously, but yeah, just in sweat.
It's a lot of liquid just leaving, eh?
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know how many bottles of water or electrolytes I had. So call it 2 an hour. So that's 24. Add some more in.
Yeah.
Plus in between. Like, that's a lot of liquid.
Yeah.
But I was just, and then through the early hours of the night, obviously not sweating as much because it wasn't as warm. So
I didn't realize it was that hot. I was away that weekend. So
yeah,
it's 32 degrees.
Were you here on the Friday?
No.
Oh, the Friday was like 36 or 38 degrees.
Really? 38?
Yeah. So the gym was already like toasty warm on the Saturday morning. Wow. And funnily enough, I'd positioned us near one of the fans, which conveniently wasn't working. So there was no airflow.
Oh, no.
We had the big ass fans above us, but the ones on the wall just weren't working. So every time you're sitting on the bike and you get to catch a draft from the outside of the roller door, you're like, oh, it's great.
Wow.
Yeah.
How many people did it for 24 hours? Do you want to mention some names of who was actually there for the 24-hour stint?
In the teams, yeah. So there was Hannah and myself, Jenna, Alexa and Zoe. There was Amy and Emily, the team next to me. Who else is there? Alicia, Lexi, and Jackie. And then another bike had, who was on the back there? Mental blank
Theo, after 24 hours.
Yeah, Theo and Steph was on the back of the other bike.
So mostly girls.
Yeah, I was actually the only guy doing the 24 hours.
Yeah.
Oh, no, sorry, I lied. There was Theo, and then another team from Barrel came up.
Oh, wow.
And Chris brought 2 of his teammates, another guy and another girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there was 4 dudes and mostly girls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you organized the event, right? Was it you that took the initiative to get this started?
Yeah, I was the brainchild behind this stupidity that was. I talked to a few gym members just randomly on the stretch mat about, I think I want to do a really crazy event off the back of doing that ride a long time ago. And I thought, I can't do a 24-hour row. That's just, I don't have that in me. My body would be broken after a 24-hour ski. So... And I think
ski would be the worst.
I think the ski. Well, funnily enough, the guy came up from Barrel, Chris. He had done a 24-hour ski, and he said the ride was worse.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he said his body was just more broken after the ride, just from probably not from not moving so much.
That's surprising.
Yeah, I was very surprised. Yeah. He was doing for the ski 5 minutes on, 20 minutes off in a team of 5 for 24 hours.
Okay, so did it volume or the time accumulated on the apparatus was a lot less, but still.
Yeah, and at the ride they were doing in their team of 3, they were doing, it was pretty strategic actually. They did 20 minutes on, 40 minutes off. So you'd ride once per hour,
Yeah.
which worked quite well for them because they were actually able to keep quite a good pace.
Yeah, and not too long of a break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if we could, half an hour of a break would have been better, which actually we did do that in the early hours from after we had that, tried to have those sleeps. I think it was about maybe 2 o'clock. From 2 o'clock till 6 o'clock, we did half an hour stints. And that was quite refreshing from the hour to then be like, oh, I've only got half an hour. And then that half an hour, those last 2 blocks of half an hours, they felt like an hour. So then we dropped that to 15 minutes.
Oh, so you did 15, 15, 15, 15?
Yeah, so from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock, we did 15 on, 15 off.
Yeah.
And even the last few of those 15s felt like half an hour. Obviously, the last 15 minutes were fine because you're like, oh, the end is nigh. Like, it's not too far.
Yeah.
I was still able to rein it in and hold like a 202, 205 on the last 15 minutes, which was probably more mentally refreshing, you know, knowing you only got 15 minutes than an hour to go.
Yeah.
Whereas some of the other teams were still doing hours at that point.
You don't want to do the last hour, do you?
No. It kind of worked quite well for us doing hours and then rolling into half an hours and then rolling into 15s. It just kind of played out with how we were feeling mentally and physically.
Yeah.
Just to be able to keep holding some kind of pace.
Sounds like that's, getting a smaller and smaller amount of time is probably the way to go. But
if I was to do it again, yes.
Yeah.
I don't foresee myself doing it again.
Talk to me about the motivation to do it and the charity you guys raised some money for.
Sorry, we were talking about that before. So the idea just came off the back of there's a swim called A Head Above Water that is done locally, and that is a 24-hour swim. It was in Collaroy Ocean Pool, and our gym put a team of swimmers that went and swam 1 hour every hour for 24 hours.
In the Collaroy rock pool?
Yeah, in the rock pool. So that's where I got the idea for the 24 hours with an hour on.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, well, maybe I'll just do 24 hours myself. But I just logistically couldn't get my head around how to do that in terms of getting off, going to the toilet, having a break, eating, stretching. And I just didn't think my body would be able to handle it. So then I was just talking to friends and Hannah, and she was like, oh, I'll get involved with this. It sounds awesome. And then it just kind of grew from there. Obviously, some people dropped off. They weren't so keen when it came to crunch time to commit. But that's where the idea came from initially, was that I'd done that Canberra ride and then I've done the swim. And I thought maybe if I just combine those, see if we can train for something. And I needed like a little bit of a goal to train towards. And I wasn't, set on any kind of certain charity. I just wanted to do something that was going to probably support mental health and in the fitness kind of field. So we went through all the other mental health charities, but we landed on the Butterfly Foundation, which is about body image and eating disorders, which is based around that mental health, but also kind of ties in nicely to people training in the gym or feeling better about training in the gym to not feel bad about their body or not have any body image or eating disorders through training. So that's the charity that we landed on. And really uncannily, when I told Jenna that we were doing it for the Butterfly Foundation, that's actually one of her charities that she supports pretty strongly. So she was like hell bent about being on board even more.
Yeah, it worked out perfectly. Hey?
Yeah,
it is a great foundation. I've actually done 2 events and raised money for them as well. Yeah, we had a kind of a CrossFit competition called the Butterfly Bowl.
Oh, really?
So we did a female pairs comp, and we supported the same foundation. So it's funny
that's great.
Random when I saw
that's
you do
random.
it. I was like, oh yeah, that's awesome.
It's even better.
Yeah, it's so good. It's such a good message they're supporting.
Yeah. And we had I didn't know how much money that we were going to raise, out of the people who are riding on the bike for 24 hours for the hour. I obviously knew there was $480 there on each bike. So I kind of thought, $500's there, maybe another $500. Let's put $1,000. But we ended up getting $2,080.
Yeah.
All up.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, there's still some people to, probably pay there, but pretty much just over $2,000. So I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah. And even just the message that you're spreading out through social and everything. And Jenna's posts were really good. So
yeah. Everyone, fought their own battles, and through the month of mental health in October, it tied in nicely.
Yeah,
that we were all out there just trying to, fight our own battles and see if we could push through it and help other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This might be a little bit early since you just finished last weekend, but have you thought about, did it give you kind of a taste for doing something similar again, or do you need to rest a little bit longer?
If you asked me that on Sunday afternoon, I probably would have said no.
Yeah.
The last thing I thought about was doing another event right then.
Yeah.
Just, I think maybe not the pressure, but just I took on so much organising the whole thing in amongst my other work schedule, and I actually moved house just the week before we moved, the week before the ride. So that added on to trying to organise the ride. I think, I was just so glad and relieved when it was all over that it all went well.
Yeah.
But in terms of doing another event, I'm definitely keen to do something, maybe not a 24-hour. I think just that was more like a tick box for me. I think I kind of wanted to do it for a while. I'd wanted to do like 24-hour mountain bike races before. Just never really kind of got around to it with the training and work and what have you. But this was a nice big tick box for me.
Yeah.
I think I could muster up the mental capacity and energy to do a 12 and potentially train harder for it to go harder for 12, because doing the same kind of format, so 6 hours of riding is much more manageable, and try and hold a certain pace the whole time. That would probably be more what I'd be inclined to do. And then it's 8 till 8 you're kind of done in a day rather than the whole weekend.
I couldn't agree more. The tough thing with a 24-hour event would just be to stay awake. I'd prefer to sleep.
If you love your sleep, I mean, I like sleep, but I don't need much more than 5 or 6 hours.
Yeah, wow.
So, like we've talked about before, those 2 10-minute blocks. In hindsight, they were probably not the best thing to do.
Yeah.
I probably would have preferred just to stay up. Some of the riders stayed up. Some of the girls slept for probably a total of like 4 or 5 hours throughout the night.
Oh, so they slept in several breaks.
Yeah. 2 of the girls did 2-hour blocks each, which they said was like utterly painful on the bike. But then when you had that hour and a half sleep, that was kind of nice.
They maybe came back with a bit more energy.
Maybe
if they get to sleep that much.
Yeah, but you've got to toss up. Is it better to have an hour and a half sleep or 2 hours on the bike?
Yeah.
So we tossed up, let's just not do 2 hours on the bike and let's just rest when we can.
That's one of the cool things about what you did, though. You do learn a lot about yourself and like how that works, because if you don't do it, you're just guessing. Like, I've heard stories of for instance, Courtney DeVolter, who's a really famous ultramarathon runner. She's one of the best in the world, male or female. And she ran the Moab 200 or 240. It's like 200 miles. And she slept for a minute.
Yeah, I've heard of a lot of ultra trail runners, and they can go into a super deep trance sleep within 10 seconds. And that minute feels like hours.
Yeah.
For them, they're able to slow their body down so much that it just gets the little charge that they need.
That's so insane. Hey, that's exactly what she said. She fell asleep at a rest station with her, I think it was her husband there. And then she woke up and she got really annoyed with him because she's like, you let me sleep for way too long.
Yeah.
And he's like, you've been out for a minute. And she said she was really invigorated after that. She felt re-energized.
Yeah. I mean, I could have, if I'd thought about that, maybe that would have been a tactic I could have used.
A minute sleep.
Yeah.
You never know.
I did close my eyes on the bike every now and again, hoping that I wasn't going to go into like a micro sleep, but just head down on the handlebars, just kind of close the eyes, rest the eyes more so. Yeah, my body wasn't feeling so much tired throughout the ride. It was just more my legs.
Yeah.
So
did you do any training in preparation for the event?
Yeah, I actually did a stack load. It gave me really good focus for something to train for. I felt like I needed something. So I had some, off the back of having some really bad sciatica through work, and I was working on strength and performance to rehab my back and hammies and glutes. I was actually allowed to ride. So it kind of came all at a good time. So my training was pretty much doing my strength training and then just jumping on the bike. So I'd do 3-4 sessions a week, go down the gym at 5 o'clock and just sit there and do either half an hour or 90 minutes or 2 hours.
On the Concept 2 bike?
Yeah, on the Concepts, so it was between 30 minutes and 90 minutes. And then at least once a week it'd be a long session, maybe 2 hours. And that was enough for me.
Yeah.
Those 2 hour ones was intermixed with some sled push and pull. So it was just not sitting on the bike the whole time. It's like 5K on the bike and then up and back on the sled push.
Did
So
you have
quickly.
someone write a program for you, or did you just pick it yourself?
No, I kind of worked off the back of my Canberra training, and that was just volume.
Yeah.
Just sit on, like you just need to sit on the bike and just turn the legs over.
What do you mean with your Canberra training? When you
So when I rode Sydney to Canberra back, I actually did this for my 30th birthday. I called it like the 300 to 30. Again, I had a couple mates who were interested, and they just kind of dropped off one by one. So I was like, well, I'm still going to do this.
Yeah. Was it only you left?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I just rode by myself. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I had my then girlfriend, now wife. She supported me with her parents. They'd support card me, and I rode Sydney, started at St. Peter's, rode Sydney to Mittagong, stopped at the Macca's near there, just had a quick break, quick food, refuel, straight back on the bike out to the highway again. Stopped again in Goulburn, had a little bit of food, and then was down in Canberra by like 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
So how many hours was that?
10 hours of riding.
Yeah.
Started at 4 a.m. So 12 hours of like total, but those breaks were about 45 minutes to an hour.
Is that quite a flat stretch?
You'd think so. In the car, it is.
Yeah, that's what. But it might not be on the bike.
No.
Okay.
No. There's
That's what I thought.
a good couple of hills here and there, and they're not so much like really steep and sharp. They're kind of like really long. So in a car, you don't notice. You just press your right foot down a little bit more.
Yeah.
But they're just quite long and like a long grind. But that kind of fitted my style of riding. I'm used to grinding up hills in really like high gears or low gears, you might call it, and then just grind it out.
Yeah. So have you always been training a lot, like throughout your life, or has this been more in the later years?
No, I've always been a rider throughout most of my life. Started as a swimmer, as a kid, and then kind of turned into riding at the same time as I was running. But I did one sprint triathlon. Yeah. That was kind of enough for me. I never really took up putting all three together. So yeah, riding and swimming were probably my main sports that I was kind of doing. And on training for that Canberra ride, going back to that, I just did volume. Then again, it was 400 or 500 Ks a week of just on the bike.
Yeah. Early mornings or?
Yeah, like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, 3-4 times a week. And then on the weekend, I'd be out from 5 o'clock to like 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Wow.
I'd do 170, 180 Ks just out there, just grinding it. I rode all over the northern beaches. Like I ran out of places to ride. So I just had a good come home.
So I've got to ask, how did you fit that in with your work? Were you a full-time photographer back then as well?
Back then, yeah. That's why it kind of works well getting up early. Like when I didn't have jobs on, I was up riding. And when I wasn't riding, I was shooting.
Yeah.
And same thing with my training now. Like I was able to go to the gym at 5 o'clock when the mornings I didn't have work on, because most of my shoots are early morning. So it just kind of worked in with my work schedule. Whenever I was able to rode, I rode, and whenever I was not able to ride, I was obviously shooting.
Yeah. So whenever you were shooting, when you weren't shooting or editing, you just jump on the bike.
Yeah. And on the weekends, obviously, less of my jobs are on the weekend these days. I try not to, especially on Sundays, so I could get in another couple of hours on the weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if the gym opened at 4 o'clock, I'd probably go then because I'd get another hour in.
On a Sunday?
Any day. Yeah.
Surely they'll give you a key soon.
Yeah, I did ask.
Yeah. We our gym is just moved location, and rebranded.
Yeah.
And it's going to be it's a 24-hour gym now with just
swipe
access.
Yeah.
But I still don't think I'll train that. What I'm saying that. I still don't think I'll train that early, but they've got a sauna now, so I can go in and do a sauna early, which I'm really looking forward to.
It's just nice to, I mean, we're at those 5 o'clock in the morning, not many people go. I mean, there is, but you can just kind of get in and focus and do what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because if you're going in the afternoon, it's more of a social kind of workout. You're there to see your mates, but I was kind of there to ride.
Yeah. Putting Ks in.
Yeah, putting Ks in, yeah.
Do you do normal classes at the Cube as well?
Yeah, so part of that rehab for my back and getting rid of the sciatica was the riding, and now everything seems to be a lot better. Like even after 24 hours of the ride and 12 hours on the bike, I had no back pain whatsoever. I did actually prematurely book in an osteo appointment for Monday morning. And so I saw my osteo on the Wednesday before, she was like, yeah, you're all sweet to go. And Monday morning when I went to see her, she thought I was just going to be broken. But I came in and she was like, you actually look amazing for someone who's done what you just did on the weekend. And
that's so good.
I put that down to all the strength training that I did with Luke Edgell at the Cube. He got me in a good rehab program, which was just building mobility and strength through my hammies and glutes in the positions I needed.
Yeah.
So
that's so good.
I really put that down to that training coupled with all the rehab and the stretching and mobility, which then allowed me just to be doing what I'm doing.
Yeah. Just sit on a bike for 24 hours.
Yeah. I mean, back when I did the Canberra ride, that was, how old am I? So that was 7 years ago. And I didn't have as heavy a work schedule back then as I have now.
Yep.
So it's probably played its part on that, and having an 8-month-old as well, like carrying him around definitely affected that lower back pain. I brought that on. But yeah, just with that rehab, it's kind of pulled it all into line, which is great. And I was just so happy with how it all came off.
Yeah.
After the ride.
Yeah.
Just to wake up on a Monday morning after doing that and being like, yeah, that's I'm not sore.
Yeah. It's so surprising because I've had a few people on this podcast that have done long endurance events, and you always think, and they think as well, that straight after it, they're just going to be broken. But most of them actually pull up all right, surprisingly all right.
Yeah.
And I guess that, like what you're saying is that it has a lot to do with their preparation and their training.
Totally.
And I think also the nutrition during it now is we have so much more knowledge about that than what we used to do before.
Yeah.
So people, do recover a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely that point in that night where I felt pretty depleted and almost defeated when I was running low on electrolytes, and then that friend of mine came in and I was probably not thinking very straight, and she was like, just electrolytes only, and that picked me right up. And from then on, I was good. Like, but if I hadn't had that little bit of a kick at that point in time, even Hannah was like, oh, she said to me after, she's like, I was really worried for you, but also for me at that point, because like if you bail, I don't think I can keep going by myself.
That'd be tough. Were you ever thinking about bailing?
No, there was no question at all.
Yeah. But it's nice to get that kind of second wind, right? Like you feel like you get a bit more energy.
Totally, yeah. And you can feel it coming. You know, if you've been training a lot in your life and throughout your life, you kind of know your body quite well. The only other pain I had 2 other pains, funnily enough. One was in my feet. My Metcon shoes on the Concept 2 bikes, on the little knobbles on the pedals, were digging into the soles of my feet. Oh. And so about 45 minutes into the hour, my feet were getting numb. Wow. Which was just not something I took into account.
Do you reckon the shoes were too tight or too restrictive?
The first pair I had, I brought 3 pairs. The first pair were newer. They were worn in, but they were newer. And so they were probably a little tighter than probably would have preferred. The second and third pair, they were well worn. Like they, feel like a glove type Metcon. Yeah. But even still, the pain was still kind of coming through.
Yeah, that's surprising because, thinking you're not really putting much weight on it because you're sitting.
Yeah, you are push-pulling like a lot. I mean, the technical term or non-technical term for when you're riding is like scraping dog shit off your shoe when you come up. So you're doing the pull up. That's where the hammies come in and calves, and then the other side's like pushing down. So it's kind of this motion like this. If you watch the pro
were you
riders,
clipped in?
No, we wanted to, and I had my shoes, but I just didn't get around to doing it actually, and I hadn't trained on it, so I didn't want to do it on the day
because that would have used some different muscles, I think.
And I hadn't practiced. I knew my seat height on the Concept 2. It was 16 on the seat, 16 on the handlebars. Yeah, far enough away that I was at a good reach, so that was comfortable for me. And I wasn't sure if adding clip-in pedals would have raised me up another like a centimetre or half a centimetre. Yeah. At some points throughout the ride, I was, probably in my tired state, and 20 minutes in, I was like, something doesn't feel right. And I'd ask one of the guys, can you check my seat height? Is it on 17 or 15? And they're like, oh, it's 17. Ah, yeah. Wow. Put it down one. And then you're like, okay, now I know my body well enough to know that it was not at the right height.
And those increments on the Concept 2 is actually not that big. It's quite small increments on the different settings on the seat, and you could just feel that, hey.
Yeah, even on my road bike when I'm riding, over time your road bike will slip into the saddle hoist, like into the seat post. Yeah. And if it drops like 2 millimeters, you'd notice.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the pro riders would know if it's out half a mil.
Yeah, it's crazy. It
So-
means you're spending a lot of time on it.
Yeah. That's it. I mean, I had my clip-ins and Hannah had hers, and she's like, "We're going clip-ins." I was like, "Oh, I just don't think it's worth it." Like if we were doing an hour, 2 hour ride, sure, chuck him in and deal with it. But
Yeah.
over 12 hours of riding, it could definitely affect your hip imbalance or your lower back or what have you.
Yeah.
So yeah, my feet were one thing, and I end up just swapping to my like Nike Pegasus, just something with a lot more cushion for the pushing, and it was just so much more comfortable.
Yeah.
It was-
Pegasus, they've got Nike, they've got air in them, don't they? So
they've
air
just
peg?
got just a foam.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I thought
Yeah.
They had the old-fashioned Nike air.
Yeah, just a
stuff.
Peg 34, 35s. They're
Yeah.
just your traditional running shoe.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that going from Metcons to that was like going from barefoot to slippers. It was
Wow.
Oh, it was amazing.
Yeah.
See, I still got foot pain, but it was nowhere near as bad as just having the Medis before.
Yeah. Lucky you brought different options.
I actually just chucked them in last minute. I was like, just chucking a pair of shoes in more for the Sunday, when I get off.
Yeah.
I want some comfortable shoes.
Wow.
And then the other pain was more like and this was at the same point in the night where I was kind of getting a bit dehydrated. I started getting some rib pain. I was like asking people like, where's your kidneys? Is it up here or is it down lower? And I was just getting like a bit of pain just from sitting down or just like holding the grips, I guess.
So it was muscular pain and not kidney pain?
Yeah, it was muscular. It was just from, just long intervals of and I mean, you're mixing up your hand grip, but there's only so many variations you can have.
Yeah. Yeah. Any back pain through it?
Not lower back, not at all. No. And I put that down to the rehab and just the training.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I would be a bit cautious about, I would think. But I guess, like you're saying, if you're prepared, it works out well. But
If you're
just
prepared
sitting-
and I've done a lot of riding in my life, so
Mm.
my body kind of knows that position. If there's one thing it knows what to do, it's get into a riding position and just sit there.
Yeah. You've clocked up a few Ks in a few hours.
Yeah, totally.
Can we talk a bit about what you do for worwork?
Yeah, I'd love
Your
to.
photography.
Yeah.
When did you pick up your first camera, and what was the story around that?
First camera. Ooh,
Was it a Nikon?
no, it wasn't. It was a Canon 30D, I think.
Oh wow! So it was still a digital camera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
You didn't
go
really shoot
film.
much before that.
No, not really. I mean, I had my dad's old film, and I just kind of played around with that, but nothing really seriously.
So when did you know that you wanted to make that into your profession?
Well, I picked up that first camera in 2007. That was through like one of my mates was just kind of dabbling in it, and I was like, oh, I'm going to buy one of these things too, because I kind of had an interest in it already. Bought a secondhand one, played around with it, and then in 2008, I got invited to shoot the UTA 100 back then, the North Face 100 back then, now the UTA 100.
The Ultra Trail
Ultra Trail Australia.
up in the Blue Mountains.
Yeah. So I got invited to shoot that through one of my good mates who was the marketing manager of the North Face.
Okay, because I wanted to ask there to link it a little bit, because you don't just buy a 30D and then get invited to shoot it straight off the bat. Did you do any was it just people you knew? type
Through
of thing?
people I knew, yeah. But through that, between those two periods, I was just, just out on the weekends, just shooting landscapes and shooting random people, friends who are trainers or friends who are runners or whatever sport they were doing.
Yeah, so straight away you kind of picked sport and fitness as a bit of a thing
It
you
just
wanted to
kind of
shoot.
fell and kind of molded with my lifestyle, I think.
Yeah.
It's just kind of where it landed with me. Being back then, I was a lot more outdoorsy. So, I mean, I still am, but I was like rock climbing a lot and mountain biking a lot more and trail running a lot more. So, in those kind of elements, I kind of felt that's where I should just naturally be taking photos.
Yeah.
And I'd take photos of mates rock climbing when we're out climbing, or if we're out for a mountain bike ride, I'd just take my camera. And I guess that's probably where it maybe all started.
Yeah.
And then I got invited to shoot that race just because my mate Steve was like, oh, you like taking photos? Why don't you come and hang out with this guy? He's like one of the world's best adventure sport photographers.
Who's that?
Mark Watson.
Okay.
He was shooting for the North Face. as a brand and for the run itself. And I met him, and he had no expectations, neither did I. Steve had just said, I've got a mate coming. He's really interested in photography. I obviously didn't get paid for that job. I just came and ran around the bush and had fun with it. And from that, I think Mark saw there was some potential.
So you did a good job.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I look back at those photos and I cringe a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, what was I doing?
Quick question about shooting the Ultra Trail or the North Face run. One of the things I would kind of worry about straight off the bat is that's a long race up in the Blue Mountains. How do you pick a spot to shoot? Because you can't just move around from all the different locations on the trail all the time. Did you kind of prep a bit and know where to go, or how did you pick a spot?
That first year, I just muddled my way through the whole thing. Like, obviously Mark was there to capture the race, and he was just like, they're going to be here and here and here and here and here, and if you go there, you'll find them. If you maybe meet them here, you'll find them.
So he gave you a few areas to
go to. Yeah. I knew the course and I knew the mountains well anyway, so I knew where to go. But
so did you pick a spot for sunrise, or is that
the race starts at sunrise? It starts at like 6 o'clock, just as the sun's 6:20, just as the sun's rising. It's in mid-May, so it pretty much started. It used to start at the Fairmont Resort, and back in 2008, it was like 300 people, maybe 250, 300 people. They just run out of the back of the paddock and disappear into the bush and come back, some 15 hours later. It was the first winner back then. Yeah. So shot that race, and then off the back of that, met more people who were runners, who were trainers, who were PTs, who were yogis, and they needed shots done. And you know how you just want to build up your experience, and I just would network back then. Pardon me, and just met lots of people through that. But then I actually went away. I traveled. I quit my job. I worked in media strategy, research for a digital media agency. So I was doing that for a number of years beforehand while I was still playing and dabbling around with my photography. So even when I was working full time, I'd still get up and go and shoot sunrise, and then go into work, kind of edit the pictures on the sly before I actually had to work. Knew the tech guys really well, so got like Photoshop installed on my computer back then. So I'd go into work at like 7:30, 8 o'clock after shooting sunrise somewhere, and just edit my photos up and then play around with that and then do my work day. But I really wasn't kind of interested in working in that environment anymore, and it just seemed that photography was maybe the way that I was going to go. But I knew that working in an office wasn't kind of for me. So a few things happened there, and I kind of quit my job and just traveled the world. I'd already done that first job, that first UTA with Watto, and I'd already knew that I'd booked a trip to go around the world. So
for shooting?
No, just for personal.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, just quit my job and just kind of basically left.
Yeah.
And I told Watto, like, I've got this trip booked in June, July. Don't know how long I'm going for.
Wow.
Probably a year. But it ended up being just 10 months. I think it was just close on 10 months. Anyway, he was like, well, go do your thing. You need to spread your wings and find who you are, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And when you get back, hit me up, and if you still want to do this, and I've got a spot for you, or I've got some work for you, you can come and help me out. So
good.
As soon as I got back, I hit him up. And
were you shooting a bunch on the trip?
It was just literally, it was me and my camera. I didn't take a phone or anything. I just took my camera and backpack.
Still the 30D?
Yep. Yeah, it was still the 30D. A couple of Sigma lenses back then.
Yeah.
And I just roamed the streets of all over Europe. I did like Canada to see my great aunt back then. And then it was all over Europe. Ended up going to all sorts of weird and wonderful places. Pretty much did a reverse figure eight of Europe.
Oh, wow.
Just backpack solo.
Yeah.
It was great.
Did you have any experiences during that trip that was like, all right, I really know that I want to do this photography stuff? Or
I knew that I was falling in love with doing it, and I really enjoyed the creative process of it. And I was kind of self-teaching myself editing on the fly back then. I had Photoshop only. I don't think I had Lightroom. It said Photoshop only, and I was had so much time on my hands when I was traveling to tweak and just play around. And
Yeah.
still looking back at those photos, I think I'd cringe a lot as well.
I think it's always like that.
Blowing saturations and
Yeah.
contrast here, left, right, and center.
Yeah. That's how you learn, though.
Yeah,
That's how
you
discover
learn by
things.
your mistakes, totally. So I think when I got back, I was a little bit like, obviously I couldn't just jump in and pick up photography straight up. I needed something else to tie me over. So I actually worked at the North Face retail store because my mate Steve was still there and he got me a job. So I was working in retail in the outdoor kind of space, started meeting more people, started asking them if they would like to go and run for me or do whatever it was, just so I could get out and practice shooting.
Yeah.
And then coincide with that, I started working kind of alongside Watto, just assisting him on whatever jobs he would, even if it was for no pay or pay, just to get experience.
Yeah.
So going out and following him around the bush or going onto motocross tracks or whatever it was at the time.
Talk to me about the transition from shooting mostly for free to gain the experience and building your portfolio to starting to charge for your shoots. Was that tricky for you, or was that something that kind of felt natural?
Looking back now, like I can't obviously remember that transition point. I can remember the conversation vividly that I had with Watto, with Mark, when I was assisting him and working with him. And I was still shooting Canon, but he was on Nikon. So every time I went out on a job, I'd pick up his gear because I started hating my 30D, and I'd just work with whatever spare body he had. But we went out and had a coffee one morning, and he was like, "Look, you seem to love this photography thing. I can probably help you out a bit more. If you're serious about it, I can get you a good deal with some Nikon gear because your 30D is just not really cutting it, and you're obviously not loving it because you're using mine."
Yeah.
So I think I threw caution.
So he was just sick of you using his equipment, basically.
Pretty much.
Buy your own.
Yeah, get your own stuff. So basically I listened to him, threw caution to the wind. I think it was like maybe 12 or 15 grand. Like one body, I think it was a 700D.
Yeah.
D700 back then. 2470, a 7200, one flash, and that was like pretty much maxed out my savings. But that got me, a really good setup to be able to cover most jobs with alongside him and not have to worry about borrowing his own gear or his gear. But that conversation was really a kind of a page turner for me. It was like, actually really, if I want to do this, this is probably the time to give this a really red hot go.
Yeah.
When you have that moment, that was that moment. I can still remember, we were at the cafe at Narrabeen, and he was like, "So if you want to do this seriously, like this is the time because I can help you out, and then I can help you come along to jobs with me, give you more experience." And then from then on, it just kept growing and growing to another point where we had another conversation, and he was like, "Look, you've been in my shadows for too long. You need to get out there and do your own thing, because as much as I can give you work, I've got my own clients and work to worry about, and I can't be thinking about needing to source work for you." At that point I don't even know who they were, but just enough clients to keep me going. 1 or 2 jobs a week max, maybe not even. Sometimes it was like 1 a fortnight. But I was still working retail, so I still had that security, a little bit of having some form of income. But yeah, and then I think from then on I was trying to pursue the trail running avenue, which because I loved it and I knew it quite well. And off the back of that, there was like PTs here and there, and some runners, and then some running brands, and then it was just kind of how it just kind of leapfrogs and just snowballs like that.
It's like the more you work, the more work you get, right?
Yeah, and then you get to a point, where you're probably the same. You're like, when am I getting a day off? Like,
I want my weekends back.
Sundays. Now it's this year. I've just got to live out this year, and I've still got some Sundays. I think maybe 3 or 4 for the rest of the year, maybe 4 or 5, where I've got shoots booked in. But next year it's like no shoot Sundays. That's kind of a policy I'm putting in. Yeah, just need family day. You just need days at home.
Can't work 7 days. Like that's.
And I was like, for a while, especially before we had our little boy Freddie. Like, I would just work as much as I needed to.
Yeah.
10, 15 jobs a week. And then sometimes you're like, got to squeeze in the editing. So you just do it at night time. And I don't know at what point it just all blew up in a good way. Like it just went from doing, 3, 4, 5 jobs a week to, or not even like 1 or 2 jobs a week to now it's averaging 6 to 8 jobs a week sometimes.
What do you think is some of the aspects of your work that has turned you into being more successful? An obvious one is shooting good photos. I think that a lot of people that are trying to become photographers, they need to have a certain eye and shoot good photos. That's one thing. But do you think there's something outside of that that's helped you gain more and more clients and keeping all the clients?
I think my style of photography, and also off the back of having the opportunity to shoot those 100K races, is that I'm probably willing to work a little harder, stay out there a little longer, or go a little bit further than some of the other photographers out there. So some of the, like one race I shot in New Zealand, I was basically shooting, the race was 45 hours long and I was shooting for probably 37 hours of that.
Without any sleep?
I think I slept an hour somewhere there.
Whoa.
Yeah, but I was basically out on a sheep station covering a 100-mile race, just getting ferried around by support vehicles or walking myself and then stopping and eating at an aid station and then pressing on. But there's not many people, I don't think, that would probably do that. And I think off the back of being an outdoorsy and hiking a lot and mountain biking and just wanting to keep going, that is something that probably sets myself aside from other people. And I'm happy to get up, I say it loosely, happy to get up 7 days a week and shoot sunrise.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of people just wouldn't do that.
Yeah. Working hard, right, helps a lot.
Working hard, having the motivation to work for what you love and believing in yourself. And when you start to see the fruits of all your labors start to take off, I guess it gives you more motivation to keep working harder.
Yeah.
But off the back of doing all the running, I mean, that style of shooting, really, you have to really think on your toes and be quick, and there's not much time to act.
Yeah.
You just got to be instinctively at one with your camera, I guess. So you could be sitting around waiting for maybe 2 hours for a runner to come past, and then you've got 5 or 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And you need to be ready.
That's such a good point, because a common question any professional photographer or videographer get is, what camera should I buy, or what camera is the best camera?
Yeah.
But they're all good cameras now, really, but you need to know your camera really well.
Yeah.
That's an important skill. If you're trying to make a living from it, you need to know it inside out.
You need to know the functions that you use on a daily basis and do it, blindfolded, instinctively, on a whim. Yeah. Walking along, one of the races in New Zealand, you could just be walking along a trail and you know that any moment someone's going to come cracking out behind you. So you've just got your finger on the trigger and you're just holding it on so it's not going to sleep, and you're ready to go, and you hear like a pitter-patter of a footstep, and then boom, turn around, bang, and they're off. And that's it. That was your 2-hour window in 1 second.
Do you have a favorite shoot that you've done, a favorite image that you've taken?
I keep coming back to it, and only because I still don't believe that the moment happened. It's a shot of a guy called Bo Miles, who I was shooting down the Victorian Alps in Mount Buller, campaign for Mount Buller to promote more running at their resort. And we were up. Have you been to Mount Buller?
No, I haven't.
So quite up high on the highest of the highest chairlifts. It's quite a walk up the hill, but you just see the Victorian Ranges just falling away from you as far as the eye can see. And we went up there to shoot sunset, and it was just one of those pictures that I just was like, I don't know, how did that even happen? He just came, so I obviously directed him where to go, but the sun was setting and there's just like mountain range and mountain range and mountain range in the distance, and you could just see all the little peaks. And then I was like, Bo, just keep running at me, just keep running at me. And then I was like, just run at me here, put your shadow on me so you're backlit and your shadow's on me. And I just got this moment of him just perfect striding. he's leaning a little bit to his left, and then he's just framed on the right, and then you just see the mountains.
Just the
That's
view.
it. It's just him a little bit. Yeah, and it's just one of those moments that I'll kind of remember forever.
Yeah, wow.
There's obviously been lots of others, but that's just one of those that was pretty early on in my career, and I still look back at that photo and be like, wow, I wonder if I could replicate that.
It's so hard to replicate that kind of stuff, hey? It's that's not always easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But apart from that shot, I mean, there's thousands of others that I could probably reel off. But
how about the best gym to shoot at? Because you have, similar to me, I think you've shot in a lot of different gyms, and they can be challenging to shoot at often. Yeah. Because most people don't have an understanding of how lighting works and how colors work, et cetera, et cetera. What's been your favorite gym to shoot at and why?
No bias to the Cube, but it's actually probably one of the easiest gyms to shoot in.
They get a lot of daylight through there, yeah? Is that why?
There's a lot of daylight. There's a huge roller door, but when the guys were building the gym, I had a quiet conversation, I'm pretty sure, with one of the sparkies, and I was like, you're putting in LED downlights, right? Like, and it's so just a given now that, you know, whenever I walk into a gym, I'm like, are they LED? Oh, they're not LEDs. And
what's the worst light to shoot?
Fluoros, you know it. Fluoros are just horrible.
Flickering
when you
and
see
different
fluoros,
colors.
you know you're in for a horrible time.
Yeah.
Not so much the shooting, but the post-processing is just horrendous.
Just because to explain to the listener or the viewer, it's fluoro lights can change color very quickly. So your skin tones go all over the shop. You can't really shoot.
So for Kim, for your videos, I don't know how much you see it in the blue, yellow, green, reds, but
they just turn out green for me pretty much.
Yeah. So in my camera, when I'm shooting 11 frames a second, every fourth frame is yellow, every fourth frame's blue, every fourth frame's green. So I'm like blue, green, yellow, red. And I have to pick the frame that is obviously not yellow or too green or too red. And it's kind of more aligns with more of the blue, which you can then pull back and to warm it up a bit.
Yeah.
But that shot also has to be a good
Yes. And a good timing for you.
Yeah.
It's so tricky. But to explain that, because we shoot fitness, it's important almost more than anything else that the skin tones look nice. Like it should look like a healthy human being training. Yeah. Not Hulk.
Not Hulk. not blue. Not Smurfy. But then second to that, because we do shoot this style of fitness, we want to show off the movement in the most perfect form or the best form that person can do. And that has to coincide with the lighting. So, I mean, if I was to set up a perfect gym, it would be LED downlights, not too high over ceiling, white walls, floor to ceiling, grey or black matting.
No colours, yeah.
No colours, just black. And it'd be just all clean. I mean, it'd be highly unfunctional because people would just want to dirty it up. Yeah. But it would function more like a gym inside a studio.
Yeah, I'm so lucky because I'm very good friends with the owners of the gym that I train at. And like I mentioned before, they're relocating and they've built a new gym from scratch.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and the old gym we had was fitted out before I was there and it's all blue and everything. And I haven't really done any shoots in there except the ones that had to do. Yeah. And now the new ones are all like beautiful. It's not really any strong colors. There's a little bit of wood detailing, but it's pretty neutral, so I can work with that. And most of it is just black and white.
It just makes your job like 1,000 times easier. Yeah. You walk in, you're like, oh, this is going to be great.
Yeah, I can't wait to shoot in the new gym. And I wonder what it was like before when people were shooting film and everything was, because now we're lucky, right? Like most of the gyms are getting new LED lights. But before, everything would have been fluoro and you would have been shooting film and
fluoro, or like you just rely on natural light, I guess. I don't know. Like if there's any natural light in any gym or any window, I'm like, we're over there.
Yeah.
Like, we're as close to that as possible.
Yeah, I agree.
And you need to do whatever you're doing right there.
Yeah. I guess more gyms are thinking about it as well because now we live in the era of Instagram and social media marketing, and people want their members to post from their gym and they want the photos to look good. So a lot of gyms now are thinking more about it.
Yeah, it's definitely at the forefront of their minds and forefront of ours too. If I had $1 million, I'd make my own gym.
Yeah. And it'd all be color balanced. Yeah.
Don't ruin the wall.
All right, Lyndon, we have arrived at the final segment of the show called The Last Words.
Yeah.
So we got a few kind of quick questions, I guess. But
Yeah.
maybe the first one is, can you describe the last photo on your phone? Hopefully it's not a kinky one.
The last photo on my phone was actually my son Freddie.
How old is your son now?
He's 8 months today, actually. He was just getting ready for his bath. He's standing next to the bathtub on his like tiptoes, just kind of looking in and really excited about having some bath time. I think that was the last photo.
Do you have a
that I
ton of
took.
photos of Freddie on your phone?
Yeah, I actually consciously make sure I delete, the crap ones in amongst all the good ones.
Yeah.
Aside from that last photo, I think that would be the last one that's on there, or it's one that I've airdropped from my hard drive to my phone to upload.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How good is AirDrop?
AirDrop is the best thing ever invented when it works.
Well, I find that it works quite well.
Yeah.
I was on an Android phone for a season or for a year, and I did love it, but AirDrop is just brought me back to iPhone.
Yeah, I airdrop straight from my iMac to my phone so that the quality is perfect to then, upload to Instagram.
How do you rate the quality of your iPhone camera these days?
Annoyingly good.
It's scary, eh?
I actually have always wanted to do, since probably the 7 Plus was where it kind of kicked off to be really good. I feel like the 6 was good, but not that great. The 7 Plus was a game changer. 8 Plus, yeah, sure. But then the 10 is just a next level. I haven't got the 11, is it?
11 now, yeah.
I reckon I could probably do a photo shoot on my iPhone if the client allowed me to.
If the lights were really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So funny story, I was on a shoot with a client. It was for Lululemon's wetsuit range, girls' wetsuit range. And I just took a random moment on my phone of her posing as like a behind the scenes. And then we tried to replicate it and we just couldn't. And I was like, I'm just going to slide that in there. No one can tell the difference, hey?
It's so good.
Which is frustrating.
Yeah. It's so crazy. Oh, I didn't know that Lululemon are making wetsuits.
They've kind of on the sly, they've made them for a while, a couple of years.
Yeah,
every summer they bring out like one or two.
Just female ones?
Yeah.
Yeah,
they have men's board shorts, but
Yeah.
females, they're like a long sleeve, full body, really thin, like a 2 or 3 mil.
They do sponsor one of the girls on the WSL. I wonder if she's surfing in
She probably would be.
Lululemon wetsuits. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they're like the Roxy or Quicksilver or Rip Curl, like one piece.
Mm.
Don't think they keep you warm. It's
Yeah, pretty thin ones. Yeah.
pretty thin. This one was white, so it's highly unfunctional.
Wow. Don't think I'll be surfing in a white wetsuit anytime soon.
Hit me. What's the next one?
What's the last piece of tech that impressed you?
Last piece of tech that probably my Drobos
What's that?
my like external storage.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I haven't.
Haven't got a Drobo, so
No.
it's a rated storage with 3.5-inch drives. You can have mine. I've got 5 bays. So I've got 5 of these 5-bay drives.
Okay.
So you can put as many like size capacity if you want. So generally I've got 24 terabytes, I think, in each of my.
Jeez.
I mean, you'd have more than me, right?
Yeah, probably all up. I've probably got around 20.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I've got.
but still.
This is from my, 2008 up until currently. I've got 5 of these 5-bay drives,
Yeah.
and I've obviously kept all my photos to date, but I just work off the 5th one.
Okay, so to explain it from the beginning, most people are familiar with a portable, hard drive, but yours is more of a stationary version, like a bigger version, right?
It's a bigger version, has 5 bays to put 5 3.5-inch external hard drives
Yeah.
into, and it's rated, so the information's split across all of them.
Yeah.
So
Which means it's a safer backup.
Safer backup. So I have had drives fail, and if 1 fails, you're good. If 2 fails, you just cross your fingers. If 3 fails, there's no hope.
Yeah, but very unlikely that 3 will fail.
Unlikely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if with this system with the Drobo, if 1 fails, it gives you a pretty good warning indication to replace the drive straight away, and you just chuck another one in and it writes it across them. It's just improve my workflow. It's Thunderbolt 3.
Yep. So USB-C.
USB-C, yeah.
So quick to work with.
Super quick to dump all the information there, and you have a dashboard which tells you, your storage limits, and when it gets to a certain point, it'll tell you to replace a hard drive or buy a whole new system or whatever you want to do. But yeah, for me, that's just eliminated that risk of, redundancy or losing data.
I've got to ask, have you ever had a nightmare happen?
Yes, I have. I have had a panic attack, pretty much. We were renovating our unit, and it was kind of like a miscommunication between the Sparky and me. I was still working, and I was like, just let me know when you think you're gonna turn the power off. Give me a 2-minute heads up, and it's gonna happen. And it's an old unit, and he just pulled the fuse out, and my box just went, and I was like,
oh my God.
You can imagine I pretty much cracked down. I broke down. Like, I had 10 current jobs, some people's weddings that I had shot randomly that was still on there unedited, and I just broke down. I didn't know what to do. And
that's the worst story I've ever heard.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah, the whole thing was fried. But I got 90% of it back.
How did you get it back?
I took it to a guy, and he basically rebuilt all of them.
Can I ask what that cost?
It was $1,500.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Sparky paid for it, so
it's so
it was horrendous. It was pretty bad. It was grim. I mean, it was grim.
The first time I had a portable hard drive, a lacy hard drive, just failed, and I had to, same as you, kind of do the data recovery.
Yeah.
And I had no idea about pricing. I was like, it'll be a couple $100, but it's way more expensive than that. It's so crazy.
Eliminate that panic of that happening again. It has happened with my Drobo once, but that was just a corrupt drive, which then caused the whole box to fail. So it wasn't the drives, but I couldn't access the drives because the box was dead.
Oh. And
this was a new box, so I couldn't put the hard drives in the older style box because it was running a different software. It wasn't backwards compatible.
Yeah.
So I actually went and bought a new box. I went to the shops, I just bought one and chucked all the drives in. Couldn't get the drives to work because it was a new box. They wanted to reformat all the drives.
Wow.
Oh, it was just nightmarish.
Yeah.
You just don't want to have those complications in your life, especially when you're churning through jobs every week and you're just dumping stuff on there, hoping it's going to survive.
Mm. That data storage headache and worry, no one will understand it unless they're a professional shooter. That is just
anxiety to the level. Anxiety.
I don't get stressed much at all. I'm very lucky with my lifestyle and everything. But that, you said it perfectly, that anxiety is awful sometimes.
Yeah, it's just that we're passionate about our jobs and we love what we do so much that you just don't want to let someone down. I'm sure you can replicate a job again, but you can't recreate someone's wedding again if you've got that, or you can't recreate a job as it was created the first time. And
it's so many people involved now in the shoots that I'm doing. It's like, one thing is, maybe you could replicate it, but the cost, you got to get the talent back. It's just, no one wants that message. It's like, hey, we got to reshoot the whole day because my hard drive failed.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
I've heard horror stories.
Knock on wood. Me too.
Stories.
I've been very lucky, but I've actually had a friend who did a whole shoot. This was an older Panasonic camera, and he did a whole shoot without a memory card in. The camera didn't tell him there was no memory card in there. So he's just shooting happy days,
away.
Just enjoying the day. He's like, oh yeah, getting heaps of great shots here, and then goes back to his computer, opens the camera.
I've had memory cards fail.
Yeah,
probably 2 or 3. But there's data recovery software for that. But
you never buy a cheap memory card.
No,
that's a no-go.
Yeah, you go to Kmart and buy your SDs and compact flash cards.
Yeah. Okay, last of the last questions. What's the last movie on Netflix that you enjoyed? Or it doesn't have to be Netflix. Any movie.
I can't even remember the last movie that I actually watched, apart from the Christmas party on the 24-hour ride. But I really don't even remember what was happening.
Do you not watch a lot of movies at home or even go to the cinema?
I haven't been in the cinema in at least 8 months.
Wow, really?
Since Freddie's been here, he just can't do that.
Ah,
And actually, we tried to go to the movies before he was born, because people tell you, there's one thing you can't do when you've got a baby or a young kid. You just can't go to the movies anymore unless you give them to someone else.
And until he gets old enough, and then you can go watch kids' movies.
Yeah. Actually,
that's fun.
There should be like a movie marathon that you can take your kid to, but you can jump in and out all day, because kids can't sit still.
Do you mean just leave your kid there?
No. So like, how your kid will cry within half an hour. And you're going to get out. So.
Oh, yeah, but I used to work at a cinema, and we would have baby screenings. So it would be like 10, 11 a.m. And we'd make space for prams and everything. And everyone in there knows that, there's going to be a baby crying half the movie. So, but some cinemas do that.
So like 4 or 5 movies that rotate.
Oh, okay.
Not even a movie, just a half an hour.
Just anything on the screen.
Anything on the screen. So you and your kid can experience going to the movies, but if you leave, you can still come back and leave and come back and leave and come back.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
But movies, I'm not a massive movie buff.
Yeah. Who inspires you in photography then? Do you have anyone that really you look at their images and go, wow?
There's a couple guys in the States. Sterling Lawrence was a mountain bike photographer. But I always, funnily enough, the guy did or does still inspire me is Mark. Just for pushing the limits. And when I was working alongside him, he was just like a guru. I just kind of always aspired to have that finesse with my camera as much as he does. But he started in film days, so he worked in a camera store and worked his way all the way up through there. But I'd say probably him. Just keep it really simple. Yeah, he'd be the person that I aspired to, still do, but definitely don't want to do what he does these days. Go on week-long expeditions in Antarctica and all sorts of places. That is exciting, but for me, it's just not where my head's at right now.
I get so many people saying that, wow, I'd love to do National Geographic, this and that. And then you look at the behind the scenes of the work, the time.
For one shot.
The
20 seconds.
Fucking the malaria they're getting and stuff like that. I'm like, well, I don't know if you really want to do that. That's hard work.
Yeah.
Hard work.
And boring. And
most of the time.
Yeah.
Until you get the shot.
The last behind the scenes I think I saw of like a David Attenborough or something was these guys trying to catch the Siberian tiger maybe, and they were in the little huts, and they're in the huts for 3 months.
Yeah, they couldn't go outside.
Yeah. So you got to eat and do all your your dirty peas and poos and stuff in there.
Yeah, it's just insane
for the opportunity that you might get a glimpse.
Yeah.
And then I think, who's paying for that? Like, who's paying for someone
BBC.
for 3 months?
BBC.
Yeah.
But those things have decent budgets now. Yeah, for sure. I think what you're referring to is, if you watched it recently, is behind the scenes of Our Planet. It's on Netflix now, and it's amazing. I think that might be it. It's incredible.
It was the Siberian tiger or something like that?
I think it's the white tiger or something like that. But yeah, it's one of the most shy and difficult animals to film on
and they
the planet.
did end up getting
some amazing shots,
footage of it.
Yeah,
but kudos to that. I mean, if you're happy to write it out and sit there and wait for a shot,
Yeah.
I'm happy to wait for some runners to come past.
You'll know they'll be coming.
Yeah, they will be coming. Yeah.
Yeah, not some
Tiger,
random
not
time
so
within
much.
3 months.
Yeah, but we all, we have our different passions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Lyndon, thank you so much for coming on, and hopefully you don't have to do another 24-hour event soon, but we'll have to get you back on when you do another milestone.
Yeah. We can do one together. You can come on the next 12-hour ride.
I will do. I actually would have done the 24-hour if I was here.
Yeah.
I do want to do some more endurance stuff. I've got a friend who's trying to get me to do the Transalpine run, and I don't think I'll do that. That's too crazy.
Yeah, running's just another level on your body.
I've got respect for that. But yeah, for sure. We'll definitely should do a long event.
We'll figure something out. Yeah. Jenna's already got her mind ticking about something else.
We'll let her come up with something, and then we'll probably...
And then we'll dumb it down.
We'll share the load, and she can do the majority of it.
Yeah, sounds good.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Lyndon.
Thanks, Kim. Thanks for your time. Cheers.